because I'm in a position where my primary role is as an academic, as I said, instead of looking at it as a setback. And this is just one example. There are other life setbacks that can happen, personal. But in terms of professionally, every time something goes wrong or goes in a way that is unanticipated, to the best of my ability, I try to see how that can be harnessed to make a difference in sharing that with someone else and saying also that the humility of not having something work. But I always think about how what doesn't work can be useful information, because you don't want to cast that by the wayside, because that's what's important.
Welcome to the Immigrant Nation podcast. Today, we are honored to have a truly remarkable guest who has dedicated her ingenuity, time, and career in finding solutions for cancer, especially for women. Dr. Nimi Ramanujam is an immigrant who spent her youth in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. She has roots in Mysore and Bangalore in India. Dr. Nimmi was immersed in the world of music from a young age, mastering the veena and performing on various platforms. This early connection to music shaped her creative approach to problem solving, which she now channels into groundbreaking work in women's health. Professor Nimmi is a professor at Duke University and founder of the Center for Global Women's Health. Dr. Nimmi is also pioneered accessible technologies that are transforming cancer screening and treatments across the globe. Dr. Nimmi, good morning and welcome to the Immigrant Nation podcast. Cancer touches every American in some way and is still the second leading cause of death in America and across the globe. The progress we've made in recent decades, we know, has been great, but continues to affect people the world over. We know that refugees and other immigrants in the United States experience dramatic disparities in cancer screening. Additionally, many immigrants experience elevated risks, infection attributed cancer due to their country of origin. What say you?
That's many questions folded in one, and all really great questions. I think we have great advances in knowledge about cancer, and through that, we have been able to realize some of, I think, the most promising treatments, and certainly we have the technologies to screen early and find cancers early. So in principle, we should be in a really good place with cancer. I will say that if you look at the overall statistics, perhaps we have not made as much progress as we have made in cardiovascular disease. Cancer is complex, it's many diseases, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. In terms of the challenges with cancer, I would say that it's attributed to a number of things. I can't speak to all of them, but I would say one of those things is in the U.S. in particular, when we talk about immigrants and access to healthcare, that is probably one of the issues. Of course, it varies depending on where you live and what your economical situation is. But being able to afford the care is one of the biggest challenges. And the other is to be able to perhaps prevent it in a timely manner. And this is where I think there's the opportunity for innovation, where technologies just don't provide a solution to a specific cancer diagnosis per se or treatment, but a shift in how technology can enable rethinking about how care is delivered. So I think of technology as an enabler, having that as my background. And so I think it's complex, where you have to change the way people receive care, are aware of care, and can afford care, but also you need to think about not just putting the technology in front of them, but thinking, how can that technology redesign care? And at least that's my hope as we move forward in any kind of healthcare space, is that technology can reshape how we design care. In some places, that's harder than others, but it's okay to imagine and have a vision for the future.
That's very interesting. So, for me and my experience, and it sounds and it feels like the way medicine is designed in America, it's designed to heal a sick nation, but not preventative. And so, while you're in your circles, when you're speaking with your colleagues and other professionals in healthcare, based on where the world is today, where technology has taken us thus far, based on your experiences, where do you think we need to make a radical shift, and how does that become policy where we're not focused about treatment, but rather we're focused on prevention?
Of course, there are lifestyle choices that make a difference, but that's always hard to do, right? Because you're asking people to change their behaviors. But I'll give you one example where you could make a big difference, and this is something that is, happening right now, if you will. So let's take cervical cancer as an example. It's one of those diseases that you know so much about, and we have seen great progress in the United States now and other industrialized countries. And not only can you find it early and prevent it, you can vaccinate. But let's consider the screening process, because vaccination, is going to benefit a future generation, not necessarily the generation that has the virus that causes the cancer, HPV. The way to get people to be screened early is to detect the virus. And we are in a position where not only can you have tests that detect the virus, but that collection can be done at home. So for example, just like COVID testing, it started, with going to a site. Then there was sample collection that could then be sent to a facility that could do PCR. And then there was an antigen test where you could test yourself at home. So with the HPV testing, it's very similar. You can, in principle, give someone a collection kit. They can collect it at home and then either send it or bring it to a healthcare setting. And this is something that we have experience with in places like Peru and Kenya, where this is being evaluated as a potential way to increase screening. There are other challenges in low and middle income countries, like access to HPV tests that are inexpensive and affordable, let's put it that way. In this country, that was not happening. So the FDA just passed a policy saying that instead of a clinician testing for HPV in a health facility, now women can, or individuals with cervixes can come to a health facility and get self-tested. And then, it's like a urine test. You self-test and then you give the sample to a provider. But we haven't gotten to the point here where we can ship it or give it to an individual and ask them to send the sample. If we could do that, we could reach a much broader population than someone who has to come to a clinic. So you can see that there is a shift that could broaden access to more and more people. If you find it early, you can prevent it. And it's 100% curable if you find it early. But here's an example where we know what to do from a policy perspective. But I believe there are other considerations, other constraints that are preventing that from happening, even though we know that it is effective. Now, there are trials in the US where they are testing whether at-home tests will be as good as clinical tests. And that's happening now. But that's an important step forward in cervical cancer screening. It's also happening with colon cancer and other cancers where there are kits you can take home or buy and send to a health facility. So I think that's going to be huge in terms of molecular testing so that people can do the tests early and we can find out whether there's a risk, like with COVID, and take action before it becomes a lethal disease or one that requires a lot of care. You can't do it for every cancer, but there are cancers for which you can do that. And I think that that is the future. And of course, if you can do that, then the other step is to say, can I then confirm it in a clinic early? And that requires technologies as well. And so we're now in a place where we can imagine some of these imaging technologies or confirmatory technologies also being taken out of hospitals into community clinics. And if that's possible, you could have essentially health facilities close to you that have simpler technologies, but effective technologies that can do the confirmatory tests. So suffice it to say, I think point of care technologies can bring more and more of the care to a person's home or to a community where decisions can be made early. And with telemedicine, you also have the opportunity to get counseling or consultation with experts who can then tell you how to act on that test result. So I think that's the future. And it would save a lot of money for those people who can access the test. But I think there still needs to be an awareness of these tests and ways that people can afford it, whether it's through, government insurance or private insurance or some other mechanism like, say, Planned Parenthood. So these are some of the ways I think we can pave the way for future cancer prevention that is not just lifestyle based.
So talking about an awareness, in a technical aspect, based on the information you're sharing, it looks like, particularly in the Western world, we are making substantial progress in terms of how we can early detect early signs of cancer. But do you think, besides the early detection, having simpler technologies that can be spread out, or community healthcare providers, is there a place for lifestyle change in terms of how do we educate the populace, and especially the immigrant populace, which comes into the country and starts from the bottom? Besides educational lifestyle change, is there an campus where we would look at diet, for example? Because if you start looking at, say, for example, the American diet, there is a lot there that goes into cancer causing, or is my assumption wrong?
Smoking cessation was a big part of a lifestyle change. I'm not sure about things like diet, because it's so very hard to tell people what to eat, how to eat, and also, maybe healthy foods are more expensive and not everyone can afford it. I mean, we know that that's an issue that people are dealing with right now when they're voting for, or think, who to vote for the president, right? The economic policy. So I'm not an expert in that, but I think, again, coming to women's cancer as an example, shame and stigma, for example, could be an issue, right? Especially if it has to do with the reproductive anatomy. And this is particularly important in places where there's routine screening or access to care is not common. It's not part of the culture. So I think awareness and the importance of getting screened early and treated is somewhere where you can make a difference. And I think that communities are best at informing each other about what to do and have implicit trust between each other. So I think that where we work, which is not in the US now, with cervical cancer, but other countries, I feel like that can go a long way because education and awareness requires trust. Why should I believe that your advice is the best advice? Now, policy-wise, yes, you can make a difference, right? You can say, I'm going to charge more for cigarettes, or I can't, allow you to smoke in certain places. That reduces the number of people who are going to smoke. But it's very hard to do that with diet. You can, for example, bring in education in K through 12 and get students get familiar with things that they can do to be proactive. Now, here's an example of where some of these elements kind of come together. HPV vaccine. The uptake is not perfect. It should be. Mm-hmm. We have access to the vaccine, but there is some misconception about taking the vaccine. I know for a long time that it's associated with sexual activity, and how do you reconcile that? That is changing now, but that's an example of where something is curative. Why wouldn't somebody take it? Well, it's a question of perception and what you think you should or shouldn't do based on your preconceptions, your biases. So I think that maybe for me, the biggest return on investment is to take the tools we know work and get people to take advantage of those tools first and see how effective they are, because they're based on science and they have products that you can use. I think that's easier than trying to change people's lifestyles, which takes years to do.
Very, very interesting. So, talk to us. How did you end up specializing in this one career, and did your early childhood experiences have anything to do with where you are today?
You mean in terms of working in health disparities and technology? I don't think directly. Of course, the interests that I cultivated and the way I approach things, I'm sure, were affected by my childhood. But the problems that I'm interested in now, probably less so. It's often related to your life experiences over the course of your life rather than, say, your early childhood, because you don't even necessarily know in your early childhood, like, certain things and how they impact the future. You just know more about, I think when you're a child, it's hard to, necessarily understand these more complex topics, but I do like the idea of creativity for a challenge. And I also really like the idea of being able to make a difference, that everything you do, whether it's education, whether it's technology innovation, whether it's giving a talk, that each one implicitly has some short-term impact. So for example, if I'm teaching a class, I might say, gosh, when I teach this class, at the end of the class, can my students do one thing that can have impact, tiny as it may be? Teach someone else. Try to solve a very specific problem that can be carried on and made into a solution. And so that idea of everyone making a tiny contribution through their creativity, to me, is an exciting way to make a difference, but also for it to be self-fulfilling. So I think, yes, you want to make a difference, you want to make society better, but I think intrinsically for me, there has to be more than just, I want to help people. It has to be based on also what you're passionate about, and then tying that to making a difference in society, right? If you think about people that innovate, they're not just innovating because there is a problem. They have to define the problem, but inherently the process and the innovative process excites them. it's a challenge at the end of the day to solve the problem. So there is, I would say, some self-fulfillment that comes from doing something you're excited about.
That's very interesting. Talking about innovation, um, you've significantly created technologies that have a massive impact, especially on women's health and cancer across the globe. Do you look back and relate to what the motivation for your endeavor is?
I mean, the motivation is to have the largest possible impact on problems that result in uneven access to care. So why should one person have better care than another? It's like education. You don't want to take it away from people that could benefit and make a difference, right? And so it's if you lift someone
Hmm.
else, you're really lifting, you're making it in a sense better for you and the society that you're in, right? Because it's not us and them, it's all of us. So helping someone else is helping all of us, right? It's not a zero sum game. And so I think, I mean, you must feel this, right? When you help someone, when you make a good meal, when you invite someone into your home, or when you basically um, pick up something for someone on the street, or say hello when you're in airport security, all of those little gestures make you happy, right? I mean, they should. Um, I like to think of the little things you can do to make a big difference. And whether it's inviting someone to your home or creating a solution to their problem, to me, it's one and the same. It's just how you make that difference. So I think I like connecting with people. I think that you don't have to do a whole lot for people to be happy. And I think simple solutions, innovations that can solve problems in a simple way are no different than that. You're basically saying, I can do something simple and make a big difference. I don't have to build another plane. I can build a good bicycle, and that may be enough to get to people where they want. I'm excited to build a bicycle, but I also know that I would be really happy if somebody used it and they could make a difference to someone else, right? So it's something that could become pervasive. It's not just about, and of course, there are other things like how do you make something profitable? How do you make something that someone's going to buy? Because how do you sustain it? It's not about I want to make money, but it's about how can I continue to solve problems and make sure that I can sustain it and not exploit it. So um, I think capitalism is definitely important in that regard because everybody needs to be motivated. If you can
Yeah.
motivate people, give them incentive to do something good and to use their assets, I think that people would want to do it. Just think about, yeah, when you're at home,
That's
I think
that's very interesting.
there's a behavioral economics aspect to this, right? I was listening to a TED talk and how if you got furniture delivered to your house versus building up a piece of furniture from its parts, like from IKEA, how much more satisfying that is to put in the work and to see the fruits of your labor versus just having things like handed to you or there's no challenge. And I think as a human being, if we're given the chance, everybody wants to grow. Everyone wants to invest in their future. Everyone wants to feel like they are valued. These are basic, fundamental needs, I think. And when you harness that, I think people can do good with it. But oftentimes we don't know how to do that.
As an immigrant, have you felt like those fundamentals are missing somewhere?
Missing somewhere. I'm not sure how to answer that question. For me, I would say I come from a fairly privileged place. I mean, I got an education here. I was surrounded by people that were excellent role models. So I don't know if it's just serendipity. You know how like some things just come together and they work for you? I don't know. And it may very well be that that's how it worked for me, that it wasn't a scripted process, that I just happened to be in a place where I was privileged in the smallest ways. But I can also see how it's missing somewhere, because not everyone has that privilege, right? Some people can't even get over the threshold because of circumstances to get to that place. So I don't think you can take it for granted. But if you're in a position to do that, then I think you should do something useful with it. So where is it missing? I suppose education is at the core. So maybe a way to democratize education would be one way to do it. We try to do that. We have this program to do design education in low and middle income countries and underserved populations. Will it make a big difference? I don't know. But it's an experiment. It's basically saying, just like I democratize healthcare, can I democratize education? And so I suppose not just like, math, science, not the course, but more of practical education. How do I solve a problem? How can I get excited about being able to solve a problem and know that it works? I think that is something that everyone can inherently do. But if you direct them to use those talents to solve a community problem that they care about, for example, if you have energy shortage, and you could show someone how to use renewable energy to solve that problem. Now they have a skill set, and they can put that skill set to use to solve a short-term problem, not something that is down the road where they're like, okay, how do I use my education? So it's a way of thinking that I think is super important, not necessarily knowledge transfer. Because honestly, you could get that on Coursera.
I find that interesting based on what you said earlier, the incentivizing opportunities in life, right? If you can show me how to solve my problem, and I would assume that single problem I have is not just my problem, is a problem for other people. And if I can create a solution, then that solution should be developed in a way that it can be incentivized. And I think that's really important for immigrants to get and to understand. In your career, you have undoubtedly faced massive setbacks, I would assume. Can you share a time when things didn't go as planned and how you stayed resilient, motivated, and focused?
Well, lots of things don't go as planned. But isn't that the fun of it? So I suppose you have to have the resources to
Yes, it is.
pivot, right? Because in some cases you don't have the freedom to say, oops, it didn't work, now I need to re-strategize, because it might be a question of resources. But in my case, as an academic and as a professor, I think of every setback as a learning opportunity for my students. So let's say I start a company and the product doesn't sell, and for whatever reason the market is, we can't get a good share of the market, or there are competitors that come up with technology that people want, whatever the situation is. Because I'm in a position where my primary role is as an academic, as I said, instead of looking at it as a setback. And this is just one example. There are other life setbacks that can happen, personal. But in terms of professionally, every time something goes wrong, or goes in a way that is unanticipated, to the best of my ability, I try to see how that can be harnessed to make a difference in sharing that with someone else, and saying also that the humility of not having something work. But I always think about how what doesn't work can be useful information, because you don't want to cast that by the wayside, because that's what's important in to have the building blocks to be successful. So I wasn't a very good student, to be honest with you, because I'm a visual learner and I grew up in a society as an immigrant. Here, I think there's a lot of visual learning and hands-on learning in this country. But where I grew up, it's all, very passive learning. And I just wasn't a good student in that environment. And so had I had that experience and only that experience, things might have turned out very differently for me. So I've also recognized that real world problems and setbacks provide you with non-passive learning. You learn by doing, and that learn by doing is what enforces a way of approaching problem solving. So to me, that's what's powerful about setbacks. They're real, they're tangible, and you can't escape them by reading a book. So I will say that's one thing as an immigrant, I'm glad I had an opportunity to do, because if I hadn't, I don't know that I would have been successful in the traditional model of learning, where, you are taught something, you have no context, you just learn it, and then you pass an exam, and if you don't, you're in trouble.
Yes, yes. So that I am so glad we went there because this really helps. So for immigrants who aspire to innovate or start their own ventures, what practical steps would you recommend for getting started, especially in the face of limited resources, in terms of learning, capital, and on and on and on?
I really don't know if I can speak to that again, because I'm in a position where I have the resources and I want to use that to help people without that many resources, like in healthcare and in education.
I think you are wanting to escape from what you have, and so I'm gonna double down on my question. Let's speak to immigrants who are in the same situations as you, privileged, that they had or have certain resources that the majority of us may not have. But let's speak to how they can tap into those resources.
I wish I could tell you there was a script. I think
There's never
for
one.
me, it was for support and working really hard back. So I tell my kids this when they're like, I want to succeed on my own. I think to myself, yes, nobody wants to hand you things that will make it easy for you. But I do think that when people give you insight or advice or hand you something valuable, it would be silly for you not to take advantage of it and do something with it. Think of everything that people give you as an investment, not as a donation. And the minute you think that everything people do for you is an investment, so if I say to my kids that I always tell them when it comes to education, don't worry about money. I will do what it takes. If you need to go somewhere to they play chess, you need to go somewhere and play chess and it costs a lot of money, well, I'll prioritize that over buying something. So I tell them, though, it's an investment, meaning that I hope that you will take that and not take it for granted, that you will do something with it, that you will try to do the best and maybe win a championship. Aspire for that. So I am a big believer, but you can't just ask for help, right? Because people tire of that. You have to ask for help, but then you also have to contribute to that process. So when I ask someone for advice, I always think about how I can make a difference to them, what I can do to help them. So if I ask somebody to, let's say I get through a network to someone who's got certain resources and I want them, I try to understand what would make them think that I'm valuable. I ask for insight, I ask for advice, but I never take it for granted. I know that people need to be incented to do something. So I ask myself, how can I buy their trust and their willingness to support me so that they think of it as an investment that they're making? So everything I do for someone else People always say, can you donate to this? Can you donate to that, right? And sometimes I don't feel that excited about that. But if there's a program where there are measures of impact in education, for example, because I think of that as tangible and long-term, I'm more than happy to invest. So for me, it's about creating value. And so every time you're given an opportunity to create value, that's how I think about it. If someone's going to give me funding, a lot of money to do something, I think to myself, how can I create value? Think of it as just like basic, very basic, fundamental life way to earn a living, right? If I give you a certain amount of money, you can spend it all. Or you can say, I'm going to use it for something, but make sure that I get something back that I can reinvest to make into a bigger investment down the road. It becomes something much bigger and becomes a bigger investment and helps me grow. So I know I'm making it very complicated because it is complicated, but I think that everybody, you tap into fundamental beliefs and aspirations people have. And I think that fundamentally we as human beings, we want to grow. We want to create value. We want to be able to invest, say, in our families and our kids. So can you tap into those core ideas that people want? I just find it hard to believe that people just don't want to do something. I think they just might be misdirected or not know. But I sincerely believe that people want to do something. They want to be useful. They want to feel like they're self-worth. So I think those are the life skills I care about more than learning specific things. And I think those desires can help you learn what you need to meet those goals. So I'm a big proponent of, I don't need to know every detail of differential equations I learned when I was in college. But if I need to know it to solve a problem, I will do it, because you know why? I'm motivated. And I know that that's a tool I need. So flipping it on its end is always starting with, what do people care about? I mean, wouldn't you say you'd feel better if, why do you do what you do with the immigration podcast? What motivates you to do it? You're trying to create value. You believe in something and you're trying to create value. But you also feel good about it, right? So I believe that if you can tap into those core ideas and share with people how those core ideas helped you move forward, I think that could be very powerful rather than a specific topic or subject.
What I am hearing you saying is life is about beginning with the end in mind, knowing what you want to give to society, not how you are going to give it to society. And so if I am understanding that to be true about you and to be true about what it takes to be successful in what endeavor one may deem necessary, what are some of, how do you tap into those people who surround you so that you can be able to make something of yourself? If we can even narrow that down a little bit, how did you tap into those people who came along to mentor you?
The reason I pause is I'm trying to think about the most influential people in my life, like my graduate advisor. I want to say that there are different types of mentors. There are mentors that believe that every person and an individual has potential, and they make an investment and they want to be able to see that that person can flourish because of the effort that they put in to cultivating you as an independent individual that to be successful. And I think that parents try to do that, right? In some ways, right? That's what they try to do. They have a personal investment in you. You're their child. So I think that is what I was able to benefit from. So how did I tap into those mentors? I think some of it, as I said earlier, was if they gave me something to do. Let's say I took a class or I worked in a lab. If they gave me an opportunity, and that's where I struggle a little bit. How do you give people opportunities? It doesn't just show up. And I'm not sure that there's a script for it because I just happen to have those opportunities. And I try now. I try to give opportunities, right? I go and have, for example, my center reach out to schools and teach other people these life skills.
And Dr. Nimmi, do you not think that is the answer? That is what we are having a conversation about, that you knew your end in mind and then you made yourself available?
True. In my case, yes. As a mentor, that is what I do. Now, you asked me about tapping into other mentors, and there I can't give you an answer. But me as a mentor, yes. I think about exactly that. And thank you for bringing it up, because I was thinking more about how I was thinking about other people that I was struggling because, who knows what motivates people to mentor you. But yes, I was good at tapping into what people had to offer and to create something useful with it. But I would say yes, very much so. When I create a program, I do ask myself in a weird way, what's in it for me? Not in a selfish way, but what's in it for me as in, how can what I do have any value? And you're right. So that starts with the end in mind, is what's in it for me is in a way synonymous with what's in it for us. So you're absolutely right. Thank you for redirecting me, because sometimes the kinds of questions you're asking are sometimes so hard to answer, right? Because, I'm not aware, like, okay, why did this person take the time to care about my well-being and my growth? Why? And I think that you're absolutely right. They had a bigger picture of what they thought they could do to make a difference, and they use those skills in a very thoughtful way to make that difference. And even if there are 100 people and one person is successful, I suppose that is success. And so I have to agree with you on that one. Thank you. You've gotten me thinking about a little bit more about what we take for granted or what we do intuitively, but not necessarily think about it in a very structured way. I think that's what it is, right? Intuition, it's kind of like your mind telling you these are the good things to do. This is where you can make a difference. But I didn't necessarily process it that way and say, oh, I'm doing this because I start with the end in mind. But in my research, in my innovation, that's exactly what I do. I start with the health system. I ask myself what the gaps in the health system are, and then I come up with the innovation. I don't say, well, this car is broken, I'm going to fix it. I'd rather fix the system that builds the car, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. So from your own experiences, do you think passion has anything to do with success?
Everything. How can you get up in the morning and do something if you're not excited about it? For me, why do I slug all day long writing a grant? Why? Part of it is actually I enjoy it. It's so much fun to create something, right? You have a blank canvas. You want to do something useful. Now you have to create a way to make that happen and convince someone else that that's worth doing. That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
So yesterday, my wife and I went out to dinner, and part of what we do when we go out to dinner, we look at people, and the idea of looking at people is we are trying to learn by looking at people. And one of those things we do is we look at the intimacy of people who are having a conversation across from our table, or how the waitresses or waiters are waiting tables, the speed of their pace and stuff like that. And you can tell how people are having conversations based on uh, their animation,
Yes.
how passionate they are about what they're talking about or what they are doing. You can also tell by someone's pace of how they walk how much they hate what they are
I
doing
love it.
now. And so the the game we were playing yesterday is identifying somebody who was not motivated, and they were touching say for example a busser or a waiter, and then looking at how we can change their life, how we can just give them a small nugget to get them inspired. And so our waiter, when she came to a table, she was not smiling. And so my wife said, okay, let's stop. My name is Nicole, and this is my husband Martin, and we want to have an experience, because we could have stayed at home and made food and enjoyed it, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to enjoy an experience, and you're part of our experience. So what we will do is we'll give you a tip so that before you serve us, and we'll give you another tip after you serve us, but it depends with how good an experience this is going to be. And so through all that, we wanted to find out why her pace was slow, why she seemed like she hated her job. And by the time we were done with our meal, we had gathered enough information, and so we were able to serve her in a certain way, right? And our goal was, or our eventual goal was, to hope that she can create passion within herself for the rest of the day, and she can be able to go. And so she hates her job, but she wants to work her job so that she can pay for school. And so but she had not connected those two
Ah,
together as one being the purpose of the other. And we kind of hope we bridged that for her, and allowed her the opportunity to understand that life is always not going to be beautiful every day. There's days there's going to be that are going to be tough, and they're going to be hard. And so the idea of life is that you're able to drive
mm,
yourself and inspire yourself. Now here's my question for you: as a parent, when you notice your kids are not in the right place, and this happens a lot in immigrant homes, how do parents tap into their children and inspire them so that they can drive them through that
I would say
difficulty that
that
they're experiencing?
immigrants, at least in my experience, that is not the way it's done. It's often, I don't know if you would relate to that, but for me, it was always uh, the glass is half empty. Why didn't you do this? Why wasn't your grade good? I do the opposite because I know that I hated every minute of it. Or apathy. They just said, you're a girl, doesn't matter if you get an education or not, too extreme. And so you talked about my childhood. See, it's interesting how you're bringing up things that I have not really brought to the forefront in my own life. And by the way, I love the examples of going to the restaurant. I was just thinking about what you did. You, in a way, you did a little investment right up front. And you tried to get this person to be excited, to share, to make those connections. And in a way, that's probably, a super important way of educating someone, right? You're showing them that you care. Now, I could ask you, what motivated you to do that in the first place? Because you're a good human being. Like, why did you even think of it? But that you're curious. You want to know what makes someone excited about something or not. So you were fundamentally curious about something and you wanted to try to solve that problem and in a way see if your experiment had an effect, right? I mean, in a sense, that's what you did. And it's really interesting because I don't know if everybody would do that, but you had this creative notion. And I would have never thought to do that. The idea of giving a tip at the beginning, that's, to me, that's so exciting. Like, wow, what's so simple. And I don't mean to flatter you in any way, but that just blew me away. That very simple exercise you did really encapsulates the things that we're trying to do, right? It's an experiment and you hope that you can change somebody's life, but it doesn't have to be a huge investment. can be a very simple thing. But I will say, coming back to the immigrant idea, I think personally, I've touched on this a few ways. The way you learn, very different. I don't know how it is now in Malaysia or India, but I can tell you when I learned, there was nothing enjoyable about education. There was no curiosity. My teachers didn't show curiosity. So it's like at the end of the day, it was just, you know, exchanging messages, if that. And the other thing is being raised in a household of an immigrant. But I understand why. Because they want you to be successful, and the way that they're trying to make you successful is understand that this is super important. You can't afford to do badly because we only have so many resources. In my case, I have the resources, so I can afford to see my kids fail, to see them, flounder a little bit, to guide them, to say, hey, it's okay to fail. But failure comes at a price. And if you don't have the resources, can you afford to fail? And I think that's fundamentally, to me, a problem I face as an immigrant. In fact, I would say that, we complain about all of our policies and the healthcare system and blah, blah, blah. But as an immigrant, I would say that coming to this country, I found my way. I was able to tap into my potential in ways that I never imagined. And I think it's the way of learning and the way people give you allowances to fail. But I still think that takes resources. You can't afford to fail. If you're taking one exam in the end of your high school that determines your future, how can you afford to fail? So the system drives that, right? Like my husband was at a very elite school in India, and the way he got in is he studied day and night. The one exam determined his future, what discipline he went to, what college he went to, everything. And I think this happens in Korea as well. So I think there are some people who are very creative and can tap into resources or the sparse resources that they have. I guess that's what makes them who they are, right? Those are the people that go on to start big companies or organizations and become very successful. It's not something everyone can do. But I do think that this environment, if you can take advantage of it, gives you so many opportunities that I never got as someone growing up in another country, another educational system. And so I'm grateful.
That is the one thing that is beautiful about America as a country, is that the cultural difference of the interpretation of what failure can be, right? So for me, failure was very decapitating, if I may put it that way, especially when I was growing up, right? Because growing up in Kenya, and I was a horrible math student. And in all honesty, I really did not figure out math until I was in my mid-30s. And the thing that drove me to figure out math in my mid-30s was because I love business so much, and there's no way business can succeed without really understanding your finances. And so understanding finances drove me to understand things like calculus, which to me, my God, help me. I don't know how I went through
right?
college,
We just
right?
talked about that. That is so exciting, right? Just in time learning.
Yeah, but passion is what drove me. And so I'm trying to connect these two things, right? While passion drove me, I was also in an environment that allowed me to fail massively and multiple times. Unlike in developing countries, some developing countries, and or what you'd consider third world countries, failure cannot be allowed, because when you fail, the cost of failure is so high that recovering from it is almost incredible, difficult. And so why I'm bringing this up is because I want immigrant parents to understand that the beauty of America and hopefully other developed nations is that failure brings with it lessons, and through those lessons we're able to bridge the gap of speed to achieving where we want to go. And if we can allow our children to fail, they learn what not to do, but with the proper guidance they are able to develop into the tool we want them to become in society. But where do parents have to level up so that they are not allowing their kids to, for lack of a better word, become bullshitters?
I really empathize with immigrant parents because it takes a lot, even if you try to make them aware. I think of it as evolutionary pressure. Like you have been raised in this environment. How do you break away? Like, I don't even know. I see it all, the chess community, I see it all the time, kids getting hit, if they don't do well in a tournament. And for me, it's unfathomable, but I also have empathy because they have been raised that way. They think that if their kids fail, even if they have lots of resources, they feel that if their kids fail, they have failed. So I'm not able to reconcile that because I feel empathy for the child. I feel empathy for the parent, the struggles. In fact, I would say that it's so hard to be on that fence, right? I mean, I have so much empathy for immigrant parents. Who gives them the tools? You almost like they need a college education in understanding how to shift cultures. I mean, it's so hard. I wish there was a way for us to do it easily, but it's going to take generations. Not only is it resources, even when you have resources, it's like you asked me about diet and lifestyle. How hard is that? Can you imagine telling an Indian or a Kenyan to stop eating lots of carbs and butter and chapatis? No, you cannot. So how do you expect immigrant parents to change their mindset? Like, how? I mean, I don't want to be negative, but now that you brought that up in my mind, I think, oh my gosh, there's an urgency to this. I'm not saying that people who have that are not successful, right? The story of Lang Lang, he talks about this, how he was pushed and pushed and pushed to play piano day or night. It didn't matter. So I'm not saying that you don't get success from it. So it's not that one way is better than the other. But I know that with immigrant parents, I think that it took me a long time to feel confident, to feel my own self-worth, because I felt like I was never doing anything right. So more than success, it was self-worth. It was a feeling that I was not empowered. I was disempowered. I could have still been successful, right? Regardless, but it's the way I felt. And so that you carry with, I think, all your life. For me, when I fail, even if I'm allowed to fail, and even if I say I'll teach my students, all that's great. I do it. But I cannot help feeling rejected, sad, completely hopeless when that happens, because I harken back to my memories of when I wasn't empowered. And also, if you're a girl, the expectations are so low that, again, there's no motivation to do well. Nobody says, gosh, if you didn't do well, I'm going to spend more time investing in it. So that's why I'm puzzled when you ask these questions. How does one do it? Did I get lucky? Did my kids get lucky? Is it a function of just our circumstances? Because we hear all the time in developing countries, people don't have those choices all the time. You are a function of where you're born, who you're born to, how they think. So I think your goal of raising awareness is the first step and probably the most important step, because how do we change a society? Through generations. And so if we can start to have that conversation,
Yes.
and perhaps have, people who are in the thick of it being able to share their own stories, because stories are very powerful, right? Stories is what people read. That's what they see. And that's what they can relate to, because it makes everybody human. Like, I think of Kamala Harris and her story. I can relate to that, right? Because I'm Indian. I did not have, I had
Hmm.
a South Indian parent, like she did, like a very, very conservative family, and here she is. So that's why, to me, the symbolism of people like that is so important, because whether or not I agree with their policies, what they're able to do is something that I think people will remember and aspire to because they see it. And so what you're doing is you're helping people see what's possible, but also to be aware that it's not a simple, structured process. So I think at the end of the day, this, you asked me at the beginning why I do this. And I said equity advocacy, right? I said those words because, to me, self-advocating is perhaps one of the strongest skills you can have, right? If you don't advocate for yourself, who's going to advocate for you? Get those
It has
people
to
to
be you.
advocate for themselves to see somebody else do it. And that's why I think we live in a country where this is happening today. And it's very exciting. So regardless of the outcome, the journey, they could fail, right? This is probably one of the biggest races and tensions that people feel. I wonder how
Yes.
people get up every day and do these rallies, regardless of whoever it is. But my kids are so inspired that this can even happen in America. So, but I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and some of the things you've said really
That's very interesting.
give me pause and make me think. I have to say, the experiment that you did I can't wait to tell my husband that. That's incredible, by the way. Just the one simple thing you said kind of encapsulates for me the things we talked about.
I can tell you what, it changes your experience for sure. And for me, going to eat out, there's only one goal. I go for an experience and nothing else. Because I think I'm a better cook. So is my wife. So
It's
there's no
interesting
reason
because
for
my
us to go
husband's
and
like,
eat
I
out, but we
cook
still
so
do.
well. Why do we have to go out? Now I have a great excuse to say we need to go out because we need society, we need to socialize, we need to get out and know that we live in an interactive,
Yes.
a symbiotic sort of, everybody relies on another person, even if you don't explicitly acknowledge that. So I hope the next meal's on you. but
Thank you.
this is really
Thank you.
incredible, I have to say. Thank you so much for, I mean, really, I mean that in the most sincere way, that this has been so enjoyable.
Of course, of course. Thank you. Thank you. So, Dr. Nemi, we are getting at the top of the hour, and so before we
I
wind
love
up,
that.
and I want you to come back again because I think we should spend a little bit more time and talk about other things in society. But if you were in an elevator and you had a few seconds, maybe a minute tops, to speak to a group of young immigrants, what is the one thing you would say before you got off the elevator?
Oh my goodness. It's not what I would say. It's, I would really just interact with them and be thoughtful and be sociable and, just smile and have a conversation. Just to know that they are important. You can't tell them much in an elevator, but what you can do is make them feel important for the few seconds that you have. And so being able to kind of engage them, just have a small conversation, ask them why they're stuck in the elevator with me. I think those are the most powerful moments. Just engaging, just smiling, just saying hello, just commiserating, whatever it is. But I don't think you can do much more than be human in the 10, 20 seconds that you have, because you can't teach them how to change the world, but you can change their world for 10 seconds as they can change yours.
Of course, certainly. Immigrant Nation, today we had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Nemi, a professor at Duke University and the founder of the Center for Global Women's Health Technologies. She obviously has pioneered accessible technologies that are transforming cancer screening and treatment across the globe. Dr. Nemi, our listeners, where can they find you online and on social media?
I'm going to be embarrassed to tell you this. I am not much on social media. I am not. And maybe you can help me change that.
Okay.
but I'm not. I'm a person that likes to have more personal conversations, and lots of students email me. I don't always respond to them. I do actually always respond to them, but I try to find ways in which, when they say I want to do this, I immediately connect with someone who's doing that, because I may not be able to do it, but I know someone out there is interested in the student. So never turn a student away, but I'm not big
Yes.
on social media. Maybe I should change that, but I'm not.
Okay. Fantastic. Obviously, for anyone who's looking to reach out to Dr. Nemi, you can go to the university's website, and there is a way for you guys to connect with her. We will leave her information on our bio in the bottom, and that way you can also communicate and touch base with her.
I will say this: my center is very active on social media. So if they follow GWHT, they can connect with us.
Okay, fantastic. And Martin is going to leave a link in there for our listeners to be able to connect with you. Dr. Nemi, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much for making the time for us. I want to wish you the very best. And if there's anything we can do for you here at the Immigrant Nation podcast, including helping you with your social media, that will be fantastic.
Likewise, if there's anything I can do to help you, I would love to do that, whether it's, again, talking or, interacting more or helping in any other way. So thank you for this opportunity. I truly, truly enjoy.
Thank you. You have a great day and enjoy the rest of the year. It was a pleasure. Bye bye.